It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Bruce Kuntz for our weekly Tuesday show. Shout out to everybody joining us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We appreciate you. After the fact, via podcast, we appreciate you as well. Bruce, it is good to see you. I like the World Series shirt that we've clearly got going on over there. So happy. Last time you and I are going to talk before pitchers and catchers report in a few days.
Yeah, how about that? We've made it all the way through the entire offseason. Now we're finally here into the in-season part of the year. So I'm excited to have the content wrapping up or ramping up, I should say. And we're going to have a long season ahead. So this is the calm before the storm.
Friday is when pitchers and catchers are reporting for the Dodgers. I believe Monday is the first full squad workout. And then, of course, World Baseball Classic guys will head their way. Games will begin. And so lots to get into. People like Bruce's hair on YouTube. So that we're getting some positive feedback on that as well. So shout out to Showers and Bruce's hair. Lots to get into. We're going to talk non-roster invitees in just a moment. I want to have a conversation about Roki Sasaki. Some interesting Dylan Hernandez stuff that's been written. Some news lately about pitches developing. I basically want to give you a few ideas and you tell me, Bruce, big deal or not a big deal. We'll finish up our spring training preview series talking about the position players. And then last but not least, the Dodgers have released 32 giveaways this year, and we're going to draft them. We're going to pick 5 each in snake fashion, our favorites. Curious to see what people think about that. And then, of course, we'll get to some questions. I even have some Bruce Springsteen thoughts for our guy Bruce over here. I imagine he might not like them, but we will see what he thinks about those. So let's get into non-roster invitees. This is something, Bruce, that I've actually been looking forward to. These are the guys that are not on the 40-man roster who are invited to spring camp. This includes some prospects within the organization. It's oftentimes where you get some announcements of minor league deals that have been signed that did not necessarily crack the radar. And I want to give you my 3 observations, reactions to this, Bruce, and allow you to respond to those. My first reaction is this. There were no major surprises. And by that, I mean, there weren't really any fun names as far as outsiders go. These are the guys who are newcomers to the organization or signed as minor league free agents at some point in the last few months. Some of these we knew about, some we did not. Antoine Kelly, Wyatt Mills, Ryder Ryan, Cole Irvin, Jordan Weems, Eliezer Alfonso, Sebi Zavala are the minor league free agent newcomers. I was hoping for a name I would recognize. Like I was hoping for a Jimmy Nelson, Danny Duffy type, like someone I could get excited about here. But alas, nothing too fun in this group as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Nick Senzel you could probably almost lump in there. He was in the organization for a bit last year, but he's kind of the, former top prospect that's in the minor leagues for the Dodgers that, at least it's a name. I think the good thing about it is that since there isn't that like 30-year-old guy on a minor league deal to be in camp, like they've had usually somebody every year. That means the Dodgers are very confident in their depth, which I think is a very normal place to be at this point. Looking at the organization, it's expected that they would feel good about the guys they already have in-house and that they don't necessarily need to go out and bump up the Oklahoma City roster very much with veterans.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because if you're a veteran guy who is fighting for your major league life, this is not the 40-man roster that you're trying to break into the Dodgers. You're hoping for an invite somewhere else. Yes, you might like to get developed within the Dodgers organization, but you're definitely going to take a deal elsewhere if you can find it.
That's the thing that I would think is if I were one of those guys that's quad A trying to find a big league roster spot, I would think that going to Camelback Ranch for the spring training part of the year would be a very intriguing thing as long as you can get an opt-out in your contract, which most of these guys have. Like if they don't make the 26, they have a chance to either at the very beginning of the regular season, or if they don't get called up in like a month. That's usually with like the Jake Lamb types, those guys the Dodgers brought in before. There's multiple chances throughout the season that if they're still in AAA, they get to opt out. And I think that, like, especially for guys, if they have if their arrow is trending downwards, I would think the Dodgers are a good organization if they go to you and say, we'd be interested in having you for the very beginning of the season, and we see this that we can improve. That seems like a pretty good pitch to me.
Yeah, and I wonder like how much attention those guys actually get in Dodgers camp, because clearly the Dodgers developmental arm is going to be focused on some of the names I'm about to mention here in a moment. But the second big surprise to me, Bruce, and I'm curious if this was a surprise to you, no Mike Sirota or Eduardo Quintero on this roster. I think there's a couple reasons I can think of as to why that is, but it's worth noting DePaula and Hope were on were non-roster invitees a year ago, and Sirota and Quintero basically dead even with them today, not on this group.
Yeah, I think that Quintero, I'm not all that surprised by because it's already such a crowded room. I still think that we could definitely see him in a big league game at some point if they just put him on the taxi squad, but it's pretty early. I think that even if you go back to last year, Hope had already competed in an Arizona Fall League. DePaula was already seen as this super advanced hitter. Quintero is a little bit slightly further behind in the progression track, and he's so young that it would Hope and DePaula being invited to camp last year were the outlier, not Quintero not making it now. And then for Sirota, I think it's hard to diagnose exactly why he's not there when we don't know exactly what the health is. And that's, I think, the first place that your mind goes is the knee healthy? Because if it isn't, then obviously he wouldn't be on it. It's also not impossible that he wouldn't be invited if he was healthy, but it would be a little surprising to me.
Yeah, and this leads into my third sort of reaction to this is the outfielders that did make this list. And the one of the probably the most obvious answer is not anything to say about Quintero or Sirota. It's just that there's a couple new guys in the organization that play the exact same position as them and are closer to the big leagues. That would be Zach Earhart and James Tibbs. Also, your guy, Kendall George, makes this group as well. So my third biggest reaction was Kendall George, Earhart, and Tibbs all on this group, and guys we're going to see in big league camp.
I'm excited to see Kendall George play in these games for sure. For Tibbs and Earhart, I've heard that the Dodgers are planning on starting those two guys at AAA, which is aggressive and shows that they think they're pretty much on the doorstep already. It makes sense to college bats, but that's a big show of confidence from the organization if that winds up being what they do. That's, like I said, I heard that's the plan. The other guy that I'll throw in that I think I'm intrigued to see in camp is Chris Newell. He's another like college bat that has been in the org a couple of years now and has the strikeout bug has never gone away. But he's got light tower, raw power. That if he just were to find a way to make some more contact, the eye is good. The overall athleticism is really good too. He's a big dude, tall. And so he doesn't look like that he'd move very well, but he actually does. So he steals some bases and plays a good outfield too. So I think that he's one of those guys that every year you're kind of looking at and hoping that something gets figured out with the bat to ball. And as soon as it does, then he could be a legit prospect again.
Yeah, I'm with you. Anyone else names that jump out to you that are either on this list or not on this list when it came out?
Yeah, I had two on the reliever side that I'm looking forward to, and they were both like I expected them to be on this list, but I think they're a little more under the radar that the average fan might not be as aware of them. From the left side, Garrett McDaniels was taken by the Angels in the Rule 5 draft last year, didn't wind up making it on the big league roster for the whole season. He was there for like a month or two and wound up being returned to the Dodgers. I think after a full offseason back in his home organization, he was on a huge upward trajectory before the Angels took him away. And if he can recover that sort of momentum and get back to that, he was on track to look like an impactful left-handed reliever with an above average to plus fastball and slider. So I want to see what he does. And I think he'll be pitching in the big leagues this year. And then the other guy is Lucas Webb from the right side, a Canadian guy, real big. It's a potentially plus fastball and a really good slider too. He's got a splitter that he doesn't throw as much. but he's kind of if he throws enough strikes, he's had the last couple of years since he was undrafted into the organization, he's been near the top of the charts in swinging strike rate and the whiff categories. So he's got stupid stuff that I want to see it play in big league games.
Yeah, there you go. Jose Fernandez is another name that has been in big league camp before. The stuff is there.
Rodriguez.
What's that? Rodriguez. I'm sorry. I said I was going to screw that up last time we mentioned his name. Rodriguez. And then Ronan Kopp as well, who's on the 40-man. Be fun to get a look at those two guys as well. And also Fabian Ardaya had a great piece reminding me that Paul Gervais is 6'10". So, I mean, literally will be an interesting person to watch who's on the 40-man roster.
There's some pretty cool names on the pitching side. I also just throwing in real quick, Luke Fox is a guy that I was happy to see make it. I didn't necessarily expect him to be on the non-roster invitee list, but he was a late round draft pick out of Duke, had Tommy John surgery to end his college career, and the Dodgers took him as a project, completely reworked the arsenal while he was rehabbing, threw a cutter in to spread out the plot and all the Dodger things. And since he got back, the stuff looks solid. And I think that a good performance in big league camp could put him on a trajectory for a debut this year or next year.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, another name that we've talked about on the pitching side of things, as far as a big storyline, is Roki Sasaki. And Dylan Hernandez over at the California Post, who I know is a polarizing person when it comes to Dodgers fans, has had some interesting reporting on Roki Sasaki. And some of these are quotes from Dave Roberts. Some of these are writings from Dylan Hernandez. Some of these are reports about Roki Sasaki. So there are 4 things that I find really interesting. Some of these are related to an article that's 2 weeks old when he talked to Dave Roberts, and some are newer than that. But I'm just going to read each of these, and we're going to play one of my favorite games, Bruce, which is big deal or no deal. I'll read you a quote. You tell me, is this a thing or is this not a thing? The first one, Dave Roberts quote, we're going to give him every chance to be the 5th or 6th starter, Dave Roberts said. Big deal or no deal? You buying this?
No deal, because it's not a surprise in even the slightest sense. The Dodgers are not going to have all their starters healthy to start the year, and Roki Sasaki competing for a rotation spot was always going to be what was happening. So I don't think that it's not a big deal purely in that it's not surprising at all to me.
Yeah, it's not quite word salad because it's not that complicated of a sentence, but it feels like, well, of course, this is the thing you would say here, regardless of if you actually mean it. So I'm with you on no deal. I'm not saying he can't earn the 5th or 6th spot, but I saw some people taking this quote to mean like, oh, look, Dave Roberts is buying stock. He's believing in Roki Sasaki. And I'm like, I think if you asked him this about like 9 guys on the back end of the roster, he would probably say the exact same quote.
I do think that there's just real quick about this. I think there's a very good chance that he enters the season in the starting rotation. Like, I don't think that it's even a long shot sort of thing. Roki Sasaki is here to be a starting pitcher, and I don't think the Dodgers are ready to sell out on that yet. And if he opens the year in the bullpen, that feels like a huge white flag that I don't think they're ready to wave.
Totally. And I completely agree with you, especially when you think about the injuries. Blake Snell, I would say, unlikely to be available for opening day. We don't know how they're going to handle Yoshinobu Yamamoto coming back from injury. And so all of a sudden there might be 2 spots opening up in a 6-man rotation that already had 1 spot available. So if there's 3 spots for River Ryan, Gavin Stone, Justin Robleski, Roki Sasaki, then you play the numbers game there. Second quote, this was from Dylan Hernandez. And this is not a quote from Dave Roberts. I posted this on social media. I had not seen this. This is 2 weeks old. I want to make that clear. This is not breaking news, but this is what Hernandez wrote. The Dodgers have encountered trouble reaching Sasaki, who is known for his strong individual streak. When he emerged as a bullpen savior, the organization scrambled to share stories of how it helped him recover his fastball velocity. Sasaki offered an entirely different retelling of events that minimized the role played by the team. He said he discovered the problems with his delivery when he watched old videos of himself. Big deal or no deal?
I know it's not the game, but I'm like right in the middle here of like, it is concerning. So I guess it's sort of a big deal to me, but I also think that this is the kind of thing that's hard to take at face value. And it's not speaking about Dylan Hernandez specifically, but just when you have, there's no quote in there. It's just reporting that doesn't include direct quotes. And so it's hard to know exactly where to take it. I think it's something to absolutely pay attention to, that it's coachability is obviously a huge thing, and especially for an organization like the Dodgers, who are so good at making improvements for players, whether they see it or not. And especially for a guy like Roki Sasaki that needs big improvements. I think if there's anybody on the roster that you'd be hoping would have gone into camp this year as a completely open book and just open arms to the Dodgers saying, fix me, I think you would hope it would be Roki. So it's absolutely concerning to me to read something like that and wonder whether he's a little closed off to the suggestions they're giving.
Yeah. And again, I will never be accused of being Dylan Hernandez's biggest fan. I just don't know what to do with this, because the only argument, like, to say this isn't a big deal is that Dylan Hernandez is just making stuff up. And that's an argument that can be made. I'm not going to sit here and make that argument. I'm also not going to take what he says as like 100% unfiltered truth. I do remember when Roki Sasaki was coming over, there were people in Japan that weren't really thrilled about kind of how he handled a number of things over on the Japanese side. So when he starts by saying who is known for his strong individual streak, like, it seems like we have evidence that to some degree that's true. And if there really is like a battle behind the scenes for like who's doing what and who gets credit for when things went right, and is he listening to the team or not listening to the team, I don't know what to do with it. So when you say you sit right in the middle, I'm kind of with you, because it's either a total fabrication or it's a massive deal, and I just don't know which one it is.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to try and figure, but it absolutely raises the alarm of at least watch and monitor and wait for anything else to come out. And this is also the sort of topic that we probably will never know for sure exactly where it stands, because there have definitely been guys in the past that are way less coachable than we think they are on the outside, and the inverse of that too, that these are things that are really within the clubhouse and hard and rare for anybody else to see or hear about. So it's something that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on and wondering if we get any other insights.
Sasaki is so interesting to me, and I think this is just unfortunately human nature in 2026. But it's like, there are people that are just diehard Roki people, and if you tell them something negative about Roki or that sounds negative, it does not, like, whether it's true or not is completely irrelevant, because they are just mad. You're a hater. You're an idiot. And it's the same that goes the other way. Like, if you're a Roki Sasaki, like, this guy sucks, I've seen enough. If you hear any positivity, any optimism about Roki Sasaki, it's the same thing. They don't actually care if you're telling them the truth. They only care whether or not you're saying the thing they want to hear. And to me, it feels like, I mean, you tell me, is Roki Sasaki the single biggest example of this on the Dodgers right now? Because it feels like he is the most polarizing guy, in part because we have so little real tangible data and information about if he's good or not. And so there isn't really like a quantifiable objective thing to point to and say he's good or he's not good. And therefore everybody's left to come up to their own conclusions.
I think the polarizing aspect of Roki is right up there with the polarizing aspect of Mookie Betts, because there still seems to be doubters there somehow. But for Roki, I think that it's also interesting to look at his case, because like when I bring up Mookie Betts, like superstars, you can often hear about not really wanting to be coached or told what to do. And it's a lot more believable of a story. For Roki Sasaki, he was bad last year. And even in the playoffs, when he was absolutely a huge part of the World Series, I mean, you look underneath the hood and there were still a lot of problems. And so, like, I don't want that to be misconstrued as me saying that he wasn't a huge help for the Dodgers, but it wasn't like he was just going to go straight from what he was in the bullpen last October right back into the starting rotation and all of a sudden be good. So I think that on some level, you have to, like, when you being Roki Sasaki, you have to be able to say, you're my team. And the team at that point has to be able to say, like, look, you're not Yoshinobu Yamamoto right now. You kind of have to listen to us. We're the ones signing your checks and we want you to do this. And so I think that it gets built up a little bit more than it needs to, because Roki Sasaki is not in a place to refuse assignments or suggestions from the Dodgers like other guys might be.
Okay, I'm just warning you, Bruce. You're now officially a hater, and you hate personally Roki Sasaki. You want violent things to happen to his family, and nothing you ever say about him will be taken seriously. So I'm warning you on all fronts when it comes to Roki Sasaki. I also agree with all of the things you just said about Roki Sasaki, and all of us are rooting for Roki Sasaki. I just think, like, I don't know objectively how you can look at the 2025 season and be mad at people when they say he wasn't very good. Like, I don't know what the argument against he wasn't very good is. To your point, in the postseason, the numbers on the outside were good. It was a small sample size, so the underlying metrics, like buy or sell whatever you would like to, the underlying metrics were like not good at all. I just don't know how you argue with that. Nobody is saying he's going to suck forever, but he wasn't good last year, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's just a statement of fact, looking at what he was last year, that it was a disappointing season and it wasn't a very good one. And I don't think that there is an empirical way that you can deny that statement.
Yeah. Okay, two more things, big deal or no deal. Dave Roberts saying he needs to develop a third pitch, something that goes left. Is this a big deal or no deal to you?
No deal. Again, it's the same answer as the first one, because it's kind of obvious that that's what Roki Sasaki needs. It's what's been getting said, not only since he came over to the Dodgers, but since he was in Japan, since he was pitching in the World Baseball Classic, when it was always, okay, these two pitches are great. And that was when there were people talking about 80 fastball for Roki Sasaki. I got fooled. I thought it was a 70 to 80 fastball when he first came over, and then it was not even close to that. And so that gets exaggerated even more by the splitters in 80. But if the fastball is more of a 40, 45, then you're talking about one water carrying pitch. And then you really need to have something to help get the right-handed batters off the fastball. And that's where I think a cutter really fits, because the cutter can play against righties and lefties pretty well. A slider is more of a right-handed killer. But the fastball just was not good enough to be a 1-2 punch with the splitter last year. So he absolutely needs something to play as a third pitch to have a chance to be a starter.
Which brings us to the fourth point, another thing from Dylan Hernandez, reporting that Roki Sasaki is working on both a cutter and a two-seamer. Now, one of those pitches moves left, the other does not move left. But is this a big deal to you that these are the two pitches he's chosen to work on?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal, because it fits the mold of what it seems like he needs. The problem with the fastball was not only the wavering velocity, but even if he gets the velocity up to where it should be, and it was at times in the playoffs, up in the upper 90s and grabbing some triple digits, the movement profile was just really bad. And I'm not the guy who's going to sit up here and say that you need a perfect movement profile on a fastball that goes 100 miles an hour for it to be effective, but for it to be good, like really good, that 70 and 80 I was talking about, then you need both things. And he didn't have it with the big league ball. The movement profile was ugly. So the two seam is a natural place to go from there, where the velocity can be similar, but then it can have a little bit of that movement to it that can make up for the lack of carry on the four seam. And then, like I said, the cutter's a good pitch, I think, for him to play off the splitter and can be used against both handiness and batters.
Yeah. Josh Thomas over at Dodgers Digest kind of did some digging on the 21 cutter. Your guy. Did some digging on 21 cutters that Roki Sasaki threw during his rehab assignment in AAA. If you read the article, I don't think Josh would be offended by me saying, like, I have no idea what he found in this article, because he basically said, like, this is like not a great thing to dig into, but here's what it says. And this is another not awesome thing, but here we are. And it's like, if this is true, then maybe it's really bad. And if this is true, then it becomes like really good potentially. And so basically there are some concerning characteristics of the cutter we saw, and there are other characteristics that are potentially good. And what you do with those things in 21 cutters is totally up to you. So I appreciated that someone went through and did the exercise. I just laughed because every time he was like, yeah, I don't really know what you do with this information, but here you go.
Yeah, big shout out to Josh. He's the guy that I stepped in and kind of took the prospect reins from at Dodgers Digest. He knows a lot.
Yeah. So there you go. Great stuff. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about spring training preview. By the way, our comment section is being very strange to me. So I don't know if other people on YouTube are experiencing that. If you are, I apologize. But in case you are not seeing us interact a ton, mine is lagging. It doesn't update for like 5 minutes, then it updates. So we're going to do our best to keep an eye on that. Let's talk spring training. We're talking position players and the offense in particular, Bruce. 4 questions we've been asking. Biggest storyline, most approved, young guy to watch, bold prediction. Let's start for you with the biggest storyline of the spring when it comes to position players. The answer for you is what?
My answer would be Kyle Tucker stepping into the lineup and seeing how that looks at the top of the lineup. I want to see that the way that the Dodgers send out the batting order. I want to see just the overall fit, and I want to see him in the Dodger jersey because it has the same sort of impact as Freddie Freeman's first spring training, as Mookie Betts' first spring training, as Shohei Ohtani's. And now you've got Kyle Tucker as that new shiny superstar that you just want to see how he does in the jersey.
Yeah. I have Kyle Tucker on here. I'm just curious about the vibes. Like, I'm curious the guy. I mean, this was a big storyline with him all along. Like, does he love baseball? Will he get along? And so I'm just curious what kind of reports come out about that. I'm not expecting anything meaningful to come out during spring training necessarily. But I'm interested to see like what parts of the clubhouse he connects with, who he ends up hanging out with, what the reports are. If it's like, man, I don't know what everybody's talking about, this guy's grinding in the cage, or like if we don't get that story, maybe that's a storyline to me. So I agree, Kyle Tucker. I'm interested in the on the field. I'm also interested in the off the field.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry. I think that his injection into the locker room is for sure something, just given the amount of words that have been said and written about his off the field stuff, about what Kyle Tucker brings in terms of the attitude. That's something to watch. And to be honest, I think that it's going to be completely fun, and I'm not expecting really anything to come out about that. And I think that'll be the story, that it's just a slide right in. And even if he's not leading the huddles in the locker room, I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, and give me 2 weeks until somebody does the, like, I don't know what everyone was talking about, because Kyle Tucker is fitting in seamlessly. Like, it's just, It's going to be great, and I'm going to eat it up. I'm just going to eat it up. I'm just warning everybody there. I do in the chat see, by the way, it does look like things are now humming along for me, so stay tuned. Player with the most to prove, position player-wise for you this spring is?
Most approved, Mookie Betts.
Okay.
I think coming off of the year that he had last year, I think that he needs to come into spring training looking like he's back to the superstar Mookie Betts, and a good camp and riding that wave right into the start of the season, I think would be huge for not only himself, but for the perception and for the outside world to regain the confidence that he's back to the Mookie Betts that everybody expects him to be.
I'm going to be honest. I put 2 names, did not think of Mookie Betts. Let me ask you this. Do you care at all about what he does in spring training? Like, is there a world where you leave spring training concerned because his offensive numbers are so bad? Or like, I'll leave it there.
I think there is. It would have to be very extreme. And I think that it would be less about what the numbers look like and more about how he looks like eye test. Is he hitting the ball hard? Does he look comfortable? Those kind of things that I think Mookie's one of those guys that you can really just watching the plate appearances get a good sense of whether he's right or he's not. And so much of last year, it was so obvious that he wasn't right, and he just didn't look comfortable. He wasn't hitting the ball hard. The at-bats weren't the quality that he has set the standard to. And so that's kind of what I'm watching, less about like where the batting average finishes and more seeing what he looks like in the box. Does he look like a threat again?
Yeah. The 2 names I wrote down that I've seen in the chat, Teoscar Hernandez is the first one. We know that last year was not a great one. Obviously, we're going to see him playing left field, presumably this spring. So that's a piece of it. But just, can he regain the form we saw 2 years ago offensively? And then the second one, and this is kind of a sneaky one, but I'm curious, is Andy Pages. The Dodgers won the World Series, so we don't really talk a ton about it. He had like the worst postseason run of all time. Like, it was Drake May levels bad in the I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. It was really bad for Drake May, for Andy Pages all postseason. And so I do think it's a big deal. Like, does he bounce back to the guy who was basically an all-star in the first half, or is there a little bit of like, maybe they figured some things out and there's real regression going to happen?
Yeah, you hit it. Those are my second and third guys with the most approved, and I really had to think about putting Mookie ahead of him. Teoscar needs to prove that he's not old and that he is still young and athletic and can go out and be an impact guy. And then Pages needs to go out and say that I'm not the guy that I was in October. I think I left Pages a little bit behind the other two because I know for myself, I'm not really worried about him at all. And I have gotten the general feel that like the fan base and everybody watching from the outside has kind of like accepted, okay, he was in a real bad slump for the month of October, but he's like 25 years old, and it's not something that we should expect to carry into the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I see this in the comments, and I'll just clarify something. Dodgers Digest, the website, and Dodgers Digest, the YouTube channel, are completely unaffiliated with each other. So the website, legit. The YouTube channel, no comment.
Go to the site. Go to the site. The Dodgers Digest. This is obviously that's my other home. So Dodgers Digest does great stuff. Chad Murayama is the best, and Dustin and all those guys over there are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to number 3, young guy to watch for you this spring. Who on the position player side are you most clued into? Is it going to be one of the prospect types that we won't see, or is it a guy that's on the fringes of the major league roster?
I'm given 2 answers here. First, Dalton Rushing as the big league answer, young guy that I think a good camp for him would be awesome to look like he's back to at least being able to produce at a league average level heading into the regular season. Because as soon as we see that, then the talk about Ben Rortvedt being back and stuff like that, whether Rushing can hold the backup catcher role, will be gone in a snap, and I'm really hoping that can happen in spring training. And then the prospect side, I want to see what Zach Earhart brings, because he's a real athlete that I think can already play a big league outfield and has the athleticism on that side. And if the bat looks like it's almost big league ready too, then I think a good camp would give me some confidence that we might see him in LA if an injury were to happen, or even just as like a bench call up, because like I said, he's got that athleticism already.
Yeah, Dalton Rushing feels like the obvious answer here. There is nobody on this roster that I would more wish just like a 400 batting average with some power this spring than Dalton Rushing, just to like squash like the stupid narrative about the Dodger catching position, and also just for him to have the confidence moving forward of like, okay, last year, wash it away, learned how to catch. Now I focus on hitting. Time to go back and mash. So Rushing would be for me. The second name, and this is one that you're going to probably hear a lot from me in the next month, is Alex Freeland. I really like Alex Freeland, and I just think that he's a guy this spring that is in a very interesting place within this organization, because I do think there is a second base job on opening day that is currently up for grabs if Tommy Edman cannot get back in time, which seems unlikely for him to be healthy on opening day. He's also a guy who's a top 100, top 50-ish prospect in Major League Baseball last year, and in some places again this year, who didn't do well at the major league level last year in his first cup of coffee. And so I think it's a big year for him to either prove himself as a guy who's going to live up to, not that he's going to be an all-star, but just like a productive major league player, or if the bat is never going to develop and he's going to be a glove first utility guy that can't hit. So it's a big spring for Alex Freeland that I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah. Trust me. Let's move to the next category right now.
Okay. Bold prediction for you. See, I wanted to make sure I got my Freeland thing in there, because I almost had a bold prediction here and I didn't want to get snaked on it. So it's all yours, Bruce. Make a bold prediction here.
Alex Freeland, opening day, second baseman. That's where I went with this, because I followed your bold prediction criteria of I have to kind of hate it a little bit, like in my gut. I think that Freeland is absolutely capable. So this is not the boldest prediction I could have come up with, but I think that it's a battle between Tommy Edman's ankle and then Ha-Seong Kim and Alex Freeland in camp to see who gets that second base job. And I would say that it's a 55 Ha-Seong Kim, 45% Alex Freeland. If he hits well, I could absolutely see him getting the starting nod to open up the beginning of the season, and kind of bouncing back and forth between those two guys. Miguel Rojas is also certainly in the conversation. If nobody else steps up, I don't think the Dodgers would hate to have him out there either. But I think Freeland could fit a lot of these categories in terms of things to prove, in terms of storyline to see whether he can step up and win a job, in terms of the young guy. And then now my bold prediction is that he starts the year as the opening day second baseman.
So if you had to guess, you would guess that Ha-Seong Kim is the favorite for the second base job?
I think by a hair, yeah, and that's assuming Tommy Edman is going to be hurt and on the injured list. Then I think between Kim and Freeland, I would give Kim a slight edge.
I have bad news for you. The Ha-Seong Kim hive is very much like the Roki Sasaki hive, and so you're a hater. that dislikes Ha-Seong Kim now because you're picking Alex Freeland over him. So I have bad news for you on that one, but it's all right. Well, you're in good company there, I guess.
Alex Freeland is the archetype of a guy that, at least, like, when I say opening day second baseman, I don't expect him to be starting against left-handed pitchers. That would be Miguel Rojas. I'm assuming that it's like a 75% chance the Dodgers face a righty. I don't even remember who they're opening with, but he's the opening day against right-handed. I think that he's got a better chance. And Ha-Seong Kim, this is like, I've said this a few times on this show, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He's just not the starter mold necessarily. I think a lot of teams around baseball he could be, but he signed with the Dodgers to be a utility man and depth player, not to be a second baseman batting leadoff. That's not what they brought him here for. And he can be a super, super valuable player just filling the role that he's expected to, which is off the bench.
I'm with you. I had Alex Freeland winning the second baseman job on here. I can almost promise you that I have a bold Alex Freeland prediction for like a month from now when we get to the regular season. I'm going to save that. I like Alex Freeland a lot. We'll just leave it at that. This is probably my crappiest bold prediction ever. So I want to preface that.
Okay.
And it's because I'm going to give you two names and I'm going to tell you I think one of these guys is going to have a monster spring. And it's a bold prediction. Remember that. I just feel like we're going to get to the end of spring and either Zach Earhart or James Tibbs, there's going to be like a discourse that's like, wait, are they just going to send this guy who's just absolutely raking all spring down to the minors? And the answer is going to be yes, because if everybody's healthy, you have three outfielders already, and they're not going to have these guys like platooning or sitting on the bench. But I just think either Earhart or Tibbs is going to be awesome this spring. And it's going to be like, man, the Dodgers got both of these guys for like a half a season in Dustin May. I don't know. Who would you pick? If I told you fast forward 60 days and either Earhart or Tibbs, there are like think pieces being written about how did the Dodgers get this guy from the Red Sox and what are they going to do? And is he going to take Andy Pages' job or Teoscar's job or whatever? Would you pick Earhart or Tibbs?
I think I would pick Earhart. It's a tough one. I think Earhart has a little bit more of the helium right now, whereas Tibbs is kind of performing at the level that he's expected to. The first round draft pick who is a solid on a trajectory to be a platoon outfielder. I think Earhart is the guy that has the ability for like a huge leap all of a sudden, where the athleticism shows through at the plate, and then he's all of a sudden hitting really well and on trajectory to be an everyday player. So I think if one of those two guys were to come out and be a surprise in terms of how good they are, I think it's Earhart.
Yeah, there you go. So that's my bold prediction, is one of those. So there you go with that. We do have a super chat here, and I love this super chat. Shout out to D Nation Life saying, just a periodic reminder of Max Muncy's 8th inning home run, a forgotten part of Game 7. Thank you guys for all that you do. Hashtag still champs, which is a great segue, Bruce, into the conversation we are about to have, which is a draft of Dodgers giveaways. And I say that it is a perfect segue because the Dodgers have commemorated all 3 Game 7 home runs, Muncy's, Will Smith's, and Miguel Rojas's, with a bobblehead giveaway for the upcoming year. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put, if you're watching on YouTube, a full list of the Dodgers 2026 giveaways on here. We have a bunch of podcast people, so I apologize to the YouTube people and maybe to the podcast people. I'm going to read these really quick. There's like 30 of them, but I want to give people context if they're not watching us live, okay? So here are the options. Then Bruce and I are going to pick 5 each, and I'll go over the rules. This is, I believe, in chronological order. Will Smith, Game 7 home run bobblehead, a back-to-back World Series champs hoodie, a mystery bobblehead, Shohei Ohtani Greatest Game Part 1 bobblehead, a Hello Kitty giveaway, surely to be high on Bruce's list, Jackie Robinson jersey, Roki Sasaki bobblehead, Rojas Game 7 bobblehead, Snell Starter Series. This is 4 starting pitchers, a series of bobbleheads that go together, Mother's Day tote bag, World Series replica trophy, Ice Cube bobblehead, Gold World Champions jersey, a Dave Roberts bobblehead, Yamamoto Game 7 bobblehead, Alex Vesia bobblehead, Teoscar Hernandez bobblehead, Glass Now Starter Series bobblehead, Dodgers soccer jersey, Mookie Betts Game 7 double play, Shaquille O'Neal bobblehead, Freddie Freeman walk-off bobblehead, Shohei Ohtani Greatest Game Part 2 bobblehead, Sun Heung-min bobblehead. Pause. Do you know who Sun Heung-min is?
I know who he is. Yeah, I saw the name and I had to Google it and like make sure that he's the LAFC guy, but I recognized the name enough to have the idea.
One of the more famous footballers in all of the world, used to play for Tottenham, now plays in LA. World Series replica ring, Edwin Diaz bobblehead, Kyle Tucker bobblehead, Max Muncy Game 7 home run bobblehead. So this is the list. We are going to do a 5-round snake draft. I have shared these rules with Bruce, but here are the rules. You get 5 picks. I'm going to let you go first. I'll go second. You go third. I don't need back-to-back picks. We're each going to pick 5. You have to at some point select at least one non-bobblehead in this draft. And the last thing that I'm going to add is the Ohtani greatest game bobbleheads, of which there are 2. We're just going to call that one item. And the 4 starter series bobbleheads, we're going to consider one item.
I'm guessing that those 2 Ohtani greatest game bobbleheads are the same bobblehead, and they just put 2 dates down for it, because they've done that with, like, I think it was the 50-50 one last year that they gave it away twice, and there's just so much demand that they're
separate. One is him hitting and one is him pitching.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
My bad.
I think they did with the 50-50 too. I think it was one of him stealing a base and one of him hitting. So
I'm not up to my game.
That's all right. We forgive you, Bruce. So the Ohtani greatest game counts as 1. Starter series counts as 1. And at the end, we will pick one sleeper, which is an item we probably assume is in the bottom 10 to 12 of this list, but that we're sort of irrationally or weirdly excited about. So I'm fascinated. I have no idea what your rankings are going to look like, Bruce. I would love for people in the chat to tell me what your number 1 choice would be. Bruce, you get to go first. Your number 1 choice, given all of the instructions I just gave you, would be what?
My number 1 choice at the first pick of the Dodger promo draft, I select the Freddie Freeman 18th inning bobblehead.
Wow.
Because of the personal connection to me. I was there, and so I want that bobblehead. It's a huge, tough to not go for the Yama Game 7 one, but I'm taking Freddie's just because I was there, and that makes it personal for me.
Okay. That was on my list. Not super high on my list, so I'm thrilled to hear that. I did realize, by the way, there's a few that are missing from the list, so let me read these real quick. There is a Clayton Kershaw bobblehead, a Reggie Smith bobblehead, an Ohtani starter series bobblehead, and Yamamoto starter series bobblehead. So the last 4 got cut off of my graphic, so I apologize about that. So you're going Freddie Freeman game 18th inning walk-off home run. I'm going to be honest, that was 11th on my list. Thrilled with that pick for you. You just touched on what I'm going to go with as number 1, which might surprise people, but it sounds like you are not surprised by this. Yamamoto Game 7 bobblehead is number 1. The iconic celebration. It's the moment they won the World Series, and it's the most important guy. I'm going Yamamoto Game 7 as my first pick.
That's what I would do. I would rank that as the best giveaway on the list for me, like in a regular sense. But personally, I went Freddie just because of my own connection.
Okay, so you get the 3rd pick here, Bruce. We're both 1 in. What are you taking next?
Next, I'm going to take the Ohtani greatest game. And we're looping those 2 in together. I'd been thinking this whole time that it was
2 for 1.
The same, but 2 for 1 makes it even easier. That's what I'm going to go for next.
Okay. Surprised this is still here. I'm getting the top 2 items on my board here, Bruce. Give me Miguel Rojas's Game 7 home run here. Arguably the greatest home run in Dodgers history, one of the greatest in World Series history, Miguel Rojas. So I've got Yamamoto right next to Miguel Rojas. I'm feeling very good about myself, but the draft is far from over, Bruce. 3rd pick for you is what?
3rd pick for me, I'm going to dip into the Game 7 bobblehead collection, and I'm going to grab Mookie's from the final play as he's moving across the bag. I think I would have gone Miggy Rojas here if you went Mookie. I figured you were going to stick with the Game 7 part. So I'm happy with either of these, and I think Mookie on the last play is a pretty good one.
Okay. Yeah, he was on my list. I like that one for sure. So you have got Freddie Freeman, 18th inning home run, Ohtani greatest game set, and Mookie Game 7 double play. I've got Yamamoto Game 7, Miguel Rojas Game 7. I'm going to go now take the grouping here, and I will take the starter series bobbleheads. It's 4 for 1. I believe it's playoff/World Series themed. I could be wrong about that, but it's Glasnow, it's Snell, it's Yamamoto, and it's Ohtani. I love the idea of a 4-part bobblehead. So I will take starter series as my number 3 pick. 2 more picks each, Bruce, and you are back up.
I'm going to go ahead and go here and grab my non-bobblehead because I think that there's one non-bobblehead that's above the rest. So I'm going to grab the replica trophy because I think that's a really cool giveaway. And I want to get that as my non-bobblehead before you snag it.
I'm going to be honest. I had 2 non-bobbleheads ahead of that one, but I'm not into the replica trophy thing. People are, just not my jam. So thrilled about that. I'm going to go a little bit nobody's going to be surprised by this pick. I'm going to start with that. But I'm guessing at the same time that this isn't high on many people's list. I'm going to take the Kershaw bobblehead, and here's why. I'm assuming it's a 3,000 strikeouts bobblehead. It's got to be, right? And if it's a 3,000 strikeouts bobblehead, then I want it. If it's Kershaw holding a World Series trophy, I'm also very interested in that. So I can't imagine it's going to be a boring Clayton Kershaw bobblehead. So for my fourth pick, I will take Clayton Kershaw bobblehead, crossing my fingers and praying it's 3,000 strikeouts.
All right. I think
last pick.
It's good rationale. For my last pick, I'm going to go ahead and round out the Game 7 collection, and I'm going to grab Will Smith's go-ahead home run because I wanted multiple Game 7s on here. You got the two best Game 7 bobbleheads, but I'm happy with the Mookie and Smith one, and I think that collection is absolutely at the top of the list.
I do see people suggesting, is it possible it's a Kershaw shirtless bobblehead? Again, very interested.
First overall draft pick.
All fantastic. One of my favorite bobbleheads, and I forget exactly where it is up here. I have the Clayton Kershaw batting bobblehead right here. Like, just cool. Clayton Kershaw swinging a bat. So there you go. I've got to go non-bobblehead for my last one. I was debating between the gold jersey and the back-to-back World Series champions hoodie. I'm going to go with the gold jersey is going to be my pick for the non-bobblehead. So that is my final pick.
Can I tell you why I had the trophy over that jersey?
Please.
I think that the trophy seems like a giveaway item that is more novel. The jerseys are going to be for sale in much better quality. So like if I want one of those jerseys, I can go buy one. The trophy, I'm sure that they're selling them somewhere, but that feels like a real Dodger Stadium giveaway, really cool thing for me to grab.
Fair. I'm a little surprised. The two that are on my list that didn't get mentioned, Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker, the two newest sort of superstar Dodgers. Surprised that neither of them came. But again, there are so many Game 7 bobbleheads going on here that it's like you kind of take the moment over Al. Edwin Diaz is going to have a bobblehead every year for the next however many years. Kyle Tucker, the same thing. We'll take our chances.
The Dodgers have had so many great bobbleheads and things over the years now that it feels like the only ones that really pop off the page are like special occasions. So like, that's why I really like your Kershaw 3000 rationale there, because that would be a specialty bobblehead. It's the special moment bobbleheads that are what I think that, at least for me, are the interesting ones. And then the regular bobbleheads are the background noise that are cool. But if it's not highlighting a specific moment, then I think it's a little bit further down the list.
All right. Last one, and then I have one question for you. When you look at this, if there's one that you're like, this wouldn't come anywhere near my top 10, but I'm very interested in it, what jumps out to you?
Okay, so I had two answers here purely because I wanted to ask you for where you think consensus is on this bobblehead, because I think it could be all over the place.
Okay.
I have the Shaq bobblehead in my bottom 10. I think that one's really cool, but I do think that there are going to be people out there who say, what do you mean bottom 10? Like, that's crazy that's not a hot take or a bottom of the list pick. So my backup for that was the Dave Roberts bobblehead that I think would be cool to add to.
Yeah, the Shaq one and the Ice Cube one, like, I'll be honest, don't really move the needle. I thought the Kobe one was like my number one pick, I believe, when we did this draft a year ago. The Shaq and the Ice Cube one, I'm like, sure, but like, I would rather, like, to me, that's like below Edwin Diaz. It's below Kyle Tucker. It's below a bunch of these other ones where I'm like, I'd rather have a regular Dodger player. It's ahead of Hello Kitty for me, but you know, it's below a lot of these bobbleheads.
See, if the Ice Cube one qualifies for the bottom 10, I would definitely take that one. I had that higher on the list. I have that like near the top 10 of, I think that's a really cool one because it's in the car. Yep. And the fact that he's been at the last two like celebrations and all of that, I think that's a really cool bobblehead.
Fair. My sleeper here, I love the Alex Vesia one. It's like when you imagine Alex Vesia, the pose, it's exactly what it is. And I just think that's a cool bobblehead because rarely do I feel like they nail the pose of the guy in the bobblehead. Based on what we've seen from Vesia, I love that one. And I just think he's a cool guy that's been around for a while. I think this is his first bobblehead that he's gotten, middle reliever. So like I've got a Hung-Chi Kuo bobblehead over here. I'm like, that's awesome. Hung-Chi Kuo was awesome for a little while, and there aren't a ton of those. So shout out to that. Okay, last question for you. There is a mystery bobblehead that is on the schedule that is March 31st. So, like, we're talking mystery bobblehead early on. I'm curious who you think this is. Like, I have three names written down. I think it could be Andy Pages. I think it could be Emmett Sheehan. And I think if Haesung Kim wins the opening day job, I think it could be Haesung Kim. Your thoughts?
I'm going to guess that they already have it figured out because it just feels like it's early in the schedule, so it's a hard thing to put into production. I think Haesung Kim is a really good guess because just the fan base that he has, like,
but he might not be on the roster. He could be in Oklahoma City.
Maybe that's why that they have it as a mystery so that they can scrap it if they need to and pivot to something else. I also think Andy Pages is a really solid option there too, because we're talking about, this is like 30 giveaways, and Andy Pages is one of the 30 biggest names, story or whatever on the roster. Like there are guys that I think Pages would deserve a bobblehead with in comparison to some of the guys that have gotten him the last few years. Or maybe they're just saving that bobblehead for when Kike Hernandez signs and they can't make it official yet.
There's the smartest thing you just said. It's probably a Kike Hernandez bobblehead, and they're like, we can't actually announce this. I did see some Andrew Friedman love. With Andrew Friedman in a bathrobe. I'm going to go grab my Hung Chi Kuo bobblehead here in a second, so you just keep talking. But how do you feel about an Andrew Friedman bobblehead?
Andrew Friedman bobblehead really interests me. I think that if they put it, everybody's seen that picture of him laying back in the robe with the phone, and I think that that one would get a lot of people interested. Friedman has been such an important part of what the Dodgers have done. Okay, also there's someone in the comments that just said Will Ireton bobblehead, and I want to give a shout out to that. That's two people that would be really cool.
I love it. Okay, so as promised, the legend himself, Hung Chi Kuo, stick bobblehead. Just another great pose, by the way, like Vesia. This is exactly how you imagine him. I'll show you the other. I've got like 5 other guys that are on my, didn't make it onto this shelf, and so they're on like the windowsill over here. Hung Chi Kuo is like, with all due, well, he's not the worst player because Howie Kendrick is still sitting over there, and I wasn't the biggest Howie Kendrick fan, but I kept the bobblehead. Also up there, a great one right here. Kenta Maeda, absolute legend. We've got him. Adrian Gonzalez makes it over there. Nice. And then last but not least, a fun one, but not a guy who was around long enough to make a real dent here, and that's Trey Turner with the cool slide as well. I also have a shelf over next to me, which is slightly higher on the list. That's Andre Ethier, Sean Green, and Hideo Nomo. They're up here. So we've got tiers. Top is the highest level, obviously. That's why you get like Ohtani in the Gold Throne, Vin Scully, Clayton Kershaw, etc. Guys I liked, Manny Ramirez, Hanley Ramirez, Yasiel Puig right here. Then you've got more Kershaw, Vin Scully, Mookie Betts, and then duplicates. So we've got Bellinger. We've got a bunch of Freddie Freemans and Will Smith action down here. Matt Kemp down here. Gavin Stone, star rookie down here. So, yeah, that's what we've got. Walker Buehler. Shout out Walker Buehler. Absolute legend.
I've got a little under the radar back on my shelf. It's still in the box, but this is Justin Turner pitching.
That is
best ERA in Major League history.
Okay, I actually don't have a Justin Turner bobblehead, sadly. So
that's why I really liked this one, because JT, I'm such a huge JT guy, and so this one will always stay on display for me.
I love it. All right, let's get to some questions, all caps questions. And if you hated that segment, first of all, I'm sorry. And second of all, the good news is guys report on Friday. So in 3 days, we will have more to talk about than whether Hello Kitty belongs above or below the Roki Sasaki bobblehead. By the way, shout out our guy Blake. No Star Wars stuff on here. Don't they usually do a Star Wars something?
I'm used to there being a Star Wars. I feel like there's going to be a Star Wars night still. I would be surprised if there wasn't, but that doesn't seem like something they would need to wait to announce. So yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Okay. All caps questions, throw those in the chat. Let's get to them. JY Kim. It's totally fair to criticize a player's performance. I just ask for caution when it comes to Roki's personality, as he rarely grants interviews and some reporters take liberties with rumor. That is totally fair. And I thought we tried to frame it in a sense of like, either Dylan Hernandez is lying or this is very concerning. And I don't think we tried our hardest to not say either one of those is true, because Bruce and I don't know the answer to that question. And I don't think Dylan Hernandez has like a perfect reputation where if Fabian Ardaya reported this, I would probably get mad if people were questioning it. Whereas Dylan Hernandez kind of lives in this gray zone of saying things that feel hot takey and feel stir the pot-y more often. So I think this is a fair response from JY Kim, and I think it also reflects what we're trying to do when it comes to the Dylan Hernandez quote specifically.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to bring up that if there's gaps to fill, then sometimes the reporting will fill the gap in a way that can be misconstrued. So Roki's not a guy that is wearing everything on his sleeve or necessary, and the Dodgers also aren't handling his situation with complete transparency either. So there's a lot of things that aren't public knowledge, and so it's very easy for us to jump to conclusions and assume things that maybe necessarily might not be true.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to some more questions here. Jay asks, is Alex Freeland Jeff's new Michael Conforto? Is it bold to predict Muncy returns to his 2021 form? That's my choice. See, the question is Alex Freeland Jeff's new Michael Conforto, or is Alex Freeland Jeff's new Jack Dreyer? Because everybody loves to hang on the Michael Conforto prediction, and nobody wants to remember that I said Jack Dreyer was going to be a dude preseason when nobody knew who he was. Bruce knew who he was, of course, but most of us didn't know anything about who this guy was. So I nailed a really high percentage of my bold predictions. If you're asking if Alex Freeland is going to be a bust, I'm saying no. I think Bruce is saying no as well.
Yeah.
Is it bold to predict Muncy returns to his 2021 form this season, Bruce? What do you think?
I think that is, I would qualify it as bold because 2021 Max Muncy was a superbly good player who never got the flowers that he deserved. I think that there was a lot of that season that I was watching him and trying to start a little Max Muncy MVP campaign because I think he was that good. I'm trying to pull back up his stats again right now from 2021, but that was like in peak Max Muncy, hit for a ton of power. There was a while during that season I remember he was on like a 40 home run pace. He finished at 36. He wasn't striking out very much, a 527 slug. And that was when he was a very passable defender too at that point. So if Max Muncy returned to that form, the Dodgers would be in fantastic shape because that's a 140 weighted runs created plus that as the 5 hitter, as the 6 hitter would be a nuts add back to the lineup. And also my last thing here is that was before Max Muncy became a strict platoon. So he was hitting lefties back then too, which would be awesome.
Max Muncy's weighted runs created plus in 2021 was 139. Max Muncy's weighted runs created plus in 2025 was 137. He was basically 21 version of Max Muncy last year.
See, I think that
and maybe you could make a case that weighted runs created plus doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, because the league's ability to hit, I think like last year the offense was lower than it was in 2021. So like he was an 895 OPS in 2021, 846 last year. He wasn't as good. He was, the rest of his peers weren't as good as they were in 2021 either. So that's where I'm like, I guess you could talk about if you're saying Max Muncy returns to the league normalized version of 2021 or the just Max Muncy independent version. And I'm more talking about the independent version of like if Muncy goes out and flirts with a 900 OPS, that is a bold prediction to me.
There you go. I like it. Well said. Music to my ears says Dylan Hernandez went to work for the California Post, aka the New York Post. They just stir the pot with fabricated material to get clicks. That's their business model. Won't work in California. We smart. So he does work for the California Post, and people are entitled to their opinions about the California Post. They have them. Joseph asks, what if Ha-Seong Kim has a great World Baseball Classic and Freeland has a great spring? Is there one you would hold more stock in and would either mean more? This is a great question. Like if both of these guys have like an A-level spring, which of these two guys would you be more excited about moving forward, Bruce?
I think that I would put more stock in if Freeland has a great spring training in the Cactus League, and especially looking at specifically the at-bats against the big league starters that he'll be facing. The World Baseball Classic's all over the place, so it's really the same thing over there. Like if Ha-Seong Kim goes out and is dominant against big league arms that are out there, that would be great. If he goes out and has a great game against Great Britain, then you're like, who cares?
Well,
so I think it's
respect to our British fans. We're
yes,
sorry.
I'll do respect.
Bruce just defending everybody.
I'm just saying that
Japanese players, he hates the Korean players, and he also hates Great Britain.
I'm just saying Great Britain was not a very good team last time. So that's why they came to mind.
I think we did a segment where I went through the Great Britain roster and tried to figure out if I had heard of any of them. And the answer was like, there's a couple, there's a Dodgers mind. Trace Thompson. Shout out to Trace Thompson.
Shout out Michael Peterson.
Michael Peterson. That's right. That's the other.
But yeah, I think that for both of these guys, it's dependent on the specific at bats where they face the top quality pitching. But in the end, I think I'd lean towards more if Freeland is around the Dodger operation the whole spring, and especially what he's doing in the work side of spring training and not just the games, that's a better chance for the Dodgers to get a sense of where he's at. Whereas Kim is going to be outside the organization, even if he performs well in that different environment.
Let me ask it this way, because I think you answered it fairly, which is you would put less stock in a good World Baseball Classic performance than you would in a spring training performance, is basically what I heard you say, right?
Pretty much, but like that's if Haesung Kim goes out and faces Team Japan and all of a sudden goes crazy, then that obviously would get some serious looks.
So let me ask you this, because another way of interpreting this question, and I'm glad you answered it the way you did, because it's a fair reading. If one of these guys could reach their potential, which one would you rather? Which one of these guys has like a better future for the Dodgers if you could actualize one of them?
Oh man,
you're really right, because Haesung Kim is just not going to hit for he's never going to be like a 25 to 30 home run power in the best version of himself. Whereas Alex Freeland is maybe like a 18 to 20 home run guy, but never going to be as fast as Haesung Kim. So like if one of these guys was going to pan out, the version you have in your head, which one would you rather?
We're talking ceiling.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going Alex Freeland, and I'm getting squarely paced behind the 8 ball here of the Haesung Kim fan base. I promise I don't hate this guy. I actually really, really like what he brings. But Alex Freeland at his peak, if he can catch up to fastballs at the top of the zone and control the swing and miss, is a fantastic glove and has the pop to be like, I think Alex Freeland's ceiling is even more than just 18 to 20. I think it's 25 bombs a season with that glove in the infield. That is and the eye at the plate and the ability to get on base, all those things put together. And you're talking about a for sure everyday player, and an everyday player on a team that can win a World Series is the Alex Freeland ceiling. That I don't know if it gets to all-star. It certainly could get close. Like maybe his ceiling that I imagine in my mind would be like maybe he gets there one time or something, and if he has a really good first half at some point. So we're not talking about either of these guys being like MVP candidates, but at Freeland's ceiling, that is a super productive big leaguer that I think could get 3.5 for WAR in a season.
And worth pointing out that he can play on the left side of the infield as well. Kim is like almost entirely a second baseman when it comes to the infield. Freeland, depending on who you believe, can he play a passable shortstop? But he could play third and probably like at worst an average level shortstop, I would imagine.
We got to be honest with ourselves and say that watching Alex Freeland play defense was a lot of fun. And so I want to say that he's a really good glove. There
you go. I like it. I'm with you. All right, let's get to some more questions here. Okay. Paul asks, any idea what happened to David Bodie? Why would he choose to spend the entire season on the Dodgers restricted list and not play with OKC? I forgot about this. I don't think we ever got an explanation. There were rumors that basically the Dodgers weren't letting him leave and he was pissed and left, and that's how it ended. But now that this question is being asked, Paul Abbott. Yeah, this is a weird one. You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly don't have any answers about. I was just trying to look it up when I saw this question come through, and as far as I can tell in the transaction log, he's still technically supposedly in the organization, because the last thing that's posted is when he was put on the restricted list last March. So that there isn't anything that he's signed anywhere else, but he also wasn't on the non-roster invite list. So I would be surprised if he's showing up to Dodger camp. I would want to do some more digging and find out if maybe he's playing overseas or something and it just never got posted on the MLB site. Yeah, I've got nothing here.
Paul,
it's a good question. Yeah. It's a really good question.
Jeff, it's because you continued almost all year to make your Conforto prediction. You definitely didn't went down with the ship on that one like a champ. Yeah, but do you guys remember like the 2 weeks when it looked like Conforto was about to turn it around? Come on now. We all remember that, right? Enrique asks, what if Mookie doesn't have a bounce back year? How dare you, Enrique? How dare you? That would be bad. Is my hard-hitting analysis here.
I was ready to say the same thing. That would stink. If Mookie doesn't have a bounce back year, then it would be painful, but the Dodgers would be okay in a way. And I think that I sort of brought this up around the Kyle Tucker signing of Mookie, whether he bounces back or not. The Kyle Tucker signing, if Mookie doesn't bounce back, is all of a sudden going to feel much more like it was a necessity than the extra cherry on top that it feels like right now. So I think that's a big part of why the Dodgers went all in on him, is now they've got an insurance policy that if Mookie's great, then you're talking about potentially the best offense ever. And if Mookie's not, then you've still got 3 top quality bats at the top of the lineup. And it might be 3 lefties, but who cares? They're all great hitters.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy asks, would you all do a collaboration with Doug or with Dodgers Territory? We've done stuff like, I don't know what you consider a collaboration. Clint has been on our show. I have been on Clint's show. Alana has been on our show. Katie Wu has been on our show. So we've done a ton of stuff with Dodgers Territory. I'm not going to tell the full story. There's not Dodger Blue and Dodgers Nation. It's not individual people that you see. It's not like I've never met Doug. I have no relationship with Doug. But the 2 organizations are not collaborative. Let's just say that. So there you go. But Dodgers Territory, Clint, Alana, I would say just about everybody in this space we're cool with. And Dodgers Nation is just its own thing.
Doug's a good guy. I've gone on his show a few times to talk prospects before I got here.
Yeah, so there you go. BMR asked, did they ever do a Hee-Seop Choi bobblehead? I feel like they weren't doing a ton of bobbleheads back then, but I do remember when Hee-Seop Choi was in the Home Run Derby. That was hilarious.
This last couple of years is the bobblehead renaissance. It's never been like this. Most teams around baseball do not have anything close to this. And I think in a way, it's cool that the Dodgers do the giveaways that they do now and that everybody gets a bobblehead and that sort of thing. Like I'm not hating on it at all, but I think that you have seen a little bit of bobblehead inflation, which is like we just did our segment where neither of us really care about the Kyle Tucker or Edwin Diaz bobblehead because it's like, it's not a special moment and they're going to have them again. And it's like other teams in baseball, that would not be a thought.
Yeah. Sam asks, what do you think about Yasiel Puig going to jail? It sucks. The whole story is crappy and I don't claim to have any inside information into what actually happened, but he was convicted on perjury charges, I believe is what he ended up getting caught lying under oath. So you shouldn't do that. Lying under oath sucks. I really liked Yasiel Puig, the player. I think he's made a lot of pretty brutal decisions off the field, it seems like. And while I think part of that can be connected to the hard story that he has had to live through, at the same time, like he's an adult making decisions and he's not making good ones. So it sucks because, again, I liked Puig as a Dodger, but you break the law, you deserve to get consequences. BL Boyd asks, why not just trade Ha-Seong Kim? It's obvious he's never going to get enough run to validate his true worth. Asinine. I did a whole rant about this. I guess Kim falls into the same bucket. Dalton Rushing, Ryan Ward. Like, the simplest way to put it is what is best for the player. If that is very different than what is best for the team holds all the chips. The team gets to decide. So you can say it's not fair to Kim because they're not letting him play. Well, guess what? He signed the contract. And he got to sign it. He's not Dalton Rushing, who just got drafted by the Dodgers, and it's like, sorry, bud, you're stuck here forever. Like, Kim chose to sign with the Dodgers. He signed the contract that he signed. And so if the Dodgers just want to send him down to the minor leagues a bunch, like, they can. And unless they can get a ton of value elsewhere and they find that value more than holding him in AAA in case of emergency, they're just going to keep doing it.
And if there was a team that was willing to pay the Dodgers a price for an everyday second baseman, then the Dodgers would take that trade. And there isn't anybody calling on that. It's the same reason why when Ha-Seong Kim came over, he didn't have any contract offers that didn't include options in the contract and big money or anything like that. It's just this is what I mean in saying that Ha-Seong Kim can be a very valuable player in his role, and we don't have to blow that role out of proportion, because it's almost unfair to him, I feel like, to talk about him like he's supposed to be an everyday player and that he's just getting robbed of that opportunity. Because then as soon as he does get an opportunity like that, which could be opening day, the expectation is just going to be higher than it should be for the guy that he is.
Yeah. Look, this is what got me in trouble with the Haesung Kim Hive a year ago. It was like, sometimes the world tells you what it thinks about you. The contract he signed with the Dodgers, and we did a story with I'm blanking on his name right now, a Korean journalist who came on and basically said everybody in Korea was really surprised when they heard that he had the ability to be optioned in his contracts. And we were like, that means he didn't have other choices. Like, he signed this contract because nobody was not offering him that. And he signed for basically no money. I believe it's team options in years 4 and 5. Like, it is the least player-friendly contract ever, which, again, the reason he signed it is because nobody was offering him anything better.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just not a huge contract. And I think that he started so well last year, and there was a long time that he was hitting above 300, and that kind of set an unrealistic expectation. But he came back down to earth, and that he wasn't that guy all the way through the season to give some reason to believe that he's going to be an 800 OPS. Like, that's just not the player that he is, and it's not the player that anybody should really be expecting him to be, because they'll just get disappointed. And like I keep saying it, it's not me hating on Haesung Kim. I think that he's really going to be a big part for the Dodgers. When we've looked at the last few years, and every season, by the time they get to October, they look at the bench and it's an ugly bench. Haesung Kim is the guy that is huge to fill that bench role moving late in the season. He's going to be a great pinch runner. He's going to be a defensive replacement, and he's going to get some spot starts for sure. It's not like he's never going to play, but the Dodgers aren't rolling out the red carpet for him to be the everyday second baseman, and that's okay. He can still be really valuable and a good contributor without that.
Yeah. Phil with the super chat. Dodgers Nation. Ohtani is signing with Toronto. No comment.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a super chat. I had to put it up there. I don't know. Okay. Let's do one more fun one, and then I have a Bruce Springsteen question for you. Bleep, it's Davey said, Jeff, who was your childhood favorite player? I loved Raul Mondesi as a child. I think I have a Raul Mondesi thing somewhere. But yes, Raul Mondesi was my guy growing up. I'm older than Bruce. I'm guessing Bruce was like a Matt Kemp guy. That feels like it was probably your childhood.
I was an Andre Ethier guy with Matt Kemp as the secondary favorite player, but I was always, Andre Ethier was my first favorite player, and my underdog, like, favorite guy that I really latched onto other than Ethier. Nice. That's awesome. In the Brooklyn, that's really cool. But the underdog guy that I also latched onto, this is going to be way out of left field, Jerry Sands. I was a huge Jerry Sands fan as a kid, and I don't even really know why. I think I saw him play in Albuquerque before he debuted, and I was just the biggest Jerry Sands fan, and it broke my little young heart when he didn't pan out with the Dodgers.
You learned very young what the definition of a quad A player was, huh?
Yes, that's for sure.
I love it. Yeah, I would get made fun of because I also loved like Jason Repko and Mike Kincaid and Jason Grabowski. So I see some Jason Grabowski. Yeah, huge James Loney guy. I was convinced James Loney was going to be like a 320 hitter for his entire career.
James Loney, my first ever Dodger game. James Loney, was against the Mets, and Loney hit a walk-off homer in extra innings. So I was always a first baseman too. So I love James Loney as well.
There you go. Okay. Bruce Springsteen. As if you're new to the show, our guy Bruce is named after Bruce Springsteen. He loves Bruce Springsteen. Bruce was telling me and Anthony about the Bruce Springsteen movie that is on Disney Plus. That is called what?
Deliver Me From Nowhere.
Deliver Me From Nowhere. I watched it. It's fantastic. I thought it was better than the Bob Dylan movie with oh shoot, now I'm blanking on the guy who's really famous.
Chalamet.
Yeah. That one got a way more pub. I thought the Springsteen movie was way better. I'll say that. So I really enjoyed it. So shout out to Bruce for recommending it. It's about the making of an album called Nebraska, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough sell. That album itself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this album out. It's a tough one, Bruce. I mean, I'm on the record label side on this one is all I'm going to say.
You have to go into Nebraska with a very specific understanding of what you're walking into. Because I think like that's why whenever, like, if I'm talking to someone that's never listened to Springsteen, I'm never going to say, or maybe like has a very basic understanding, I'm not going to say go listen to Nebraska as the first thing, because if you know Bruce Springsteen as Born in the USA or Born to Run or maybe The River, then you're going to be like, what? Where did this come from? And that is exactly what the reaction was when he made Nebraska, was where did this come from out of left field? But I think if you understand
it's the story, you understand the story, all of it. I get it. That's a tough. It's like I watch it and I'm like, man, these record executives suck. And then you listen to the music and you're like, kind of get why this album wasn't their favorite in the world.
There's so much about the writing in Nebraska that is from a desperate place. And I think that that's why it speaks to me so much. Nebraska is, I've been trying to nail this down lately. I think Nebraska is for sure top 3 of my favorite albums in the world. And it might be number 2. Songs like Johnny 99 that were written in the middle of, well, Reagan had his presidency. And I'm not going to get political, but it's the messaging in those songs is so fantastic. And I'm big on the acoustic side of Springsteen. So someone mentioned in the chat, Nebraska and Ghost of Tom Joad are 2 acoustic records that I just love, because the storytelling really stands out and it gets a little bit away from the rock and roll, and it's a guy with a guitar and stories that really speak to me.
If I said I love the song I'm on Fire, am I getting made fun of by Bruce Springsteen people for liking that song? Tell me the truth.
Not made fun of, but like it's as
basic.
surface level as anything.
Yeah.
It's the same as Dancing in the Dark. He wrote in like literally one night, where Born in the USA was about to come out, and they went back to him and said, we need a hit single. And so he sat down and said, all right, fine, I'll write Dancing in the Dark in one night. And then that's been like his most popular and most played song forever. And it's like I love Dancing in the Dark. I love I'm on Fire, but they're not anywhere near on the level of some of the writing stuff that like Ghost of Tom Joad, like Nebraska, that's where I really feel like his best stuff is for me.
Okay, there you go. So good movie. Strongly encourage people watching it. It's great. Acting is great. It's on Disney Plus if you have that for free. So there you go. That is going to do it for us tonight, folks. We appreciate, as always, you hopping in. That is Bruce. I am Jeff. I will be back on Thursday with Anthony. That is the eve of Pitchers and Catchers reporting. So will be a good day to celebrate Dodger baseball about to be back. As always, Dodger Blue 1958. Check out the app, DodgerBlue.com, Dodger Blue 1958 on social media. And if you're a podcast person, we've got those. Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the DodgerHeads podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. We would greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still